Some people move through life without ever having to justify their gender identity. It moves quietly through their lives, unchecked, unquestioned, uncomplicated. But for others, it is examined, legislated. It can determine the sudden tone of a doctor's voice, the safety of a bathroom, the silence at a family dinner table. To live authentically should not require courage, and yet for many it does. Because for some people, being themselves can have consequences. This episode began 6 months ago with one intention: to create a space for voices to speak honestly about what it costs to exist in a world that doesn't always know how to hold you. Today, we sit down with 7 guests who demonstrate the trials, but also the beauty of living authentically. Somewhere, there is someone watching this, wondering if they're the only one. I hope they hear something in these stories that tells them they're not alone, that it is possible to create a beautiful life for yourself. And if this world feels unfamiliar to you, I hope you're willing to open your heart enough to meet them halfway. Because at the end of the day, everyone here is just trying to survive and trying to be seen. And sometimes being seen can save a life. This is The Other Side, Light and Darkness. To start gently, why don't you tell me your name and how you identify?
My name is Raven. My pronouns are he, him, and I identify as an androgynous man.
My first name is Ethan. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I identify as a trans man.
I am Pansy. I am a trans woman. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Mason, and I identify as he and him, but you can call me anything you want, just don't call me late to dinner.
Okay. I like that.
So I gotta be fair with everybody.
Absolutely.
Just don't call me late for dinner and then we'll have problems.
Exactly. Gotta eat. Gotta eat.
My name is Kendall, and I identify as non-binary, so he, they pronouns. Well, trans non-binary.
Raymond is she, her.
My name is Adrienne, but all my friends call me Annie, so please call me Annie.
And how do you choose to identify?
So I am a non-binary trans person, and I use they, them pronouns. What are your pronouns, Jacob?
He, him, and I haven't been asked that, so that's kind of cool. Thank you.
We can ask anyone, and I think it's always nice to check in.
It's normal to normalize it.
Yeah, and even if someone presents really strongly one way, sometimes that's a great indicator, and sometimes it's not. So.
Exactly. So can you tell me about when you first began to realize or question your gender identity, the origin story?
My origins, my villain's origin story.
Yes.
Probably my whole life. Yeah. So although I didn't know what I was questioning.
You know, there are definite signs I can remember of when I was younger.
When I was young, there were things that I did that, looking back, like hindsight's 20/20.
When I was a little kid, I can't give you an exact age. If I had to guesstimate, like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think the closet was kind of glass, which I feel like is a pretty universal.
Yes.
I want to say I was like 5 years old. I don't exactly remember because time is weird.
You could definitely tell that I was like one of the boys. I played with the guy stuff, and even then, like at the time, oh, you're acting like a boy, act like a young little lady, like you are. Like that bothered me because I was just like, that's not how I feel.
So there were things that I used to do, like dressing in my dad's clothing.
I picked up on the concept of cross-dressing, and I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a cross-dresser. And like immediately I had the anxiety about like going to the bathroom in public, which is still a problem for me today. That's never changed. That's like still an issue.
I was raised, homeschooled by a very fundamentalist Christian family, so I didn't really know that being transgender was an option until I was a young teenager about.
And I remember tucking my hair into like snapbacks and baseball hats and trying to present as a more masculine version of myself.
I noticed that there was like a disconnect between who I knew myself to be and how other people viewed me.
Kind of 2 stages to that. There was the point where I was thought about all the confusion and everything about just ending everything, committing suicide.
You were that.
I had made all plans. I think what changed my mind was a phone call to one of the transgender offerings. And And that's when I really, I decided I knew by then I was transgender. That would have been 2016 or earlier. But I know I was in denial. I was okay. Yeah, maybe that.
Like, I don't know. I didn't know the words for it, but I knew what I felt inside. Like, as soon as I knew what gender was, I was like, well, I'm this one.
And I didn't have the vocabulary to really describe that. I just knew that the way people saw me was not who I was.
Mm-hmm. I remember my parents being really upset when we got like McDonald's at the mall or something, and I got a Happy Meal and they gave me the girl's toy. And I was fine with that. You know, I was chill. I almost feel like I told them, like I was confused that they were telling me that I wasn't a girl.
When I was in senior year, I was looking into terms like non-binary, androgynous, and gender fluid, and all that, because I came out as a lesbian first before I came out as trans. So, like, well before I came out as trans, or even thought that was something that could be a possibility for myself.
Right.
So
but I knew something was up. I knew something was not lining up.
Right, yeah. So you use the word androgynous, right? And what does that mean to you, and just for people who are watching who may not understand?
Sure. So androgynous, depending on the context, it can mean a few different things, but to me is having both masculine and feminine qualities.
And just following what today feels like, essentially.
100%.
I love that. So what were the earliest feelings or little experiences that nudged you to exploring who you were?
when I first really started to understand it in terms of like having the terminology or like the words to put to the feelings would have been around college years.
But it wasn't until I was probably 19 and in college that I realized I think I might be non-binary. I think that maybe I'm not just a masculine woman.
Right.
I remember around that age of like 5 years old that I had like a temper tantrum like to my parents where I was like, I am a boy. I want to dress like a boy. I want you to call me a boy. And I was like freaking out. And, you know, like when you're a parent, especially back then, like early 2000s, you're like, whatever. You're just like being a kid and doing weird stuff. But it's like knowing I wasn't able to express it because I would get shut down immediately if I was like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I am. So I like grew up knowing like as soon as I turn 18 years old, I'm cutting my hair short. Like
later on through life, when I did a little bit of college, I actually met a couple transgenders and started asking questions and stuff like that, and slowly but surely, like in my own personal time, realized, oh my god, that's me.
Yeah,
But
that's your like earliest feelings. Mm-hmm. Like, did you always know, or
deep in like my heart and soul or my body of feeling dysphorias with things like that? Like growing up, I never liked my chest. I had a very, very big issue with it, and no one could understand why, because obviously to like a female, not that I want to be personal, but like I had a bigger chest. So people are like, use it as your asset, or, you know, like be happy with what you got. I wanted that completely off to be like, you know, I want to go shirtless down the street like a guy can. Like,
my parents raised me with 80s music primarily, and a lot of the singers that were really common back then, namely David Bowie was like the biggest one. Even like metal singers would have long hair, and I remember, well, I don't because I wasn't born in the 80s, but it was very controversial because they were like pushing the limits of what masculinity meant. And I remember as a kid thinking, that's me, like, and that's what I'm trying to express, because there was like these men that no one questioned that they were men, but they were wearing makeup and looking like aliens.
I remember Culture Club.
Boy George.
Boy George, yes.
Yep. And like also like Grace Jones and Cyndi Lauper a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, very different, and I listen to Cyndi
she's
all
so
the time.
unusual.
Right? I love that. She's so unusual. Shut up.
I would see these performers and say, that is how I feel on the inside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is why representation is important, so we can see ourselves in these artists and musicians and be like, you know, I don't feel so alone. That's why we're here, right? Yeah, so that's awesome. So as you were exploring your gender identity, was there ever a moment when you felt like seen by accident or caught also, like, you know, when you were, you know, maybe gender bending or exploring different avenues?
Well, that question is in specific, because you were so gracious in supplying me with the questions beforehand.
Yes.
Thank you. So the summer before 11th grade year, my dad came home, and I had been wearing his jeans, a pair of boxers, and like a bunch of tank tops to try and give myself like the flattest.
Right.
And I would layer them up, and then I would wear his hat and tuck my hair up in it.
Right.
And I have pictures of myself from then.
Oh, wow.
From like the Cam Wow filter.
Right.
Oh,
no.
Oh, yeah.
And so he came home with...
So he came home from work, and he looked me in the face, and he was like, take those off. Don't tell your mother, and don't do it again.
Oh, my God.
So that was like... that's one of the earliest things that I can remember.
But I used to like fashion phalluses out of objects as like a way of packing. Do you know what packing is when you're at FTM?
Yeah, you make it so it look like you have a bulge.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I would like put socks together in like that way and stuff like that, and like put it in my pants and like look in the mirror. And like there were moments where like I'd be like doing that, and then like I hear the door open and there's my mom, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I put everything away. And she'd be like, well, you just don't know what you want, and like everybody feels that way at your age, and it's normal, but like you'll grow out of it, and blah blah blah. And it's like, no.
I did repress some stuff, not because I thought that it was wrong, but because it was too depressing to contemplate when I was living where I was living.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just decided that I would not think about it until I went to college.
Okay. And what happened when you went to college?
Well, before that, I started going to public school.
Oh, okay.
Where I actually met some other queer people, and that was really cool. And I did eventually come out to them, which took a weirdly long time. But I think I was really paranoid about anything getting back to my parents. You know, I'd heard stuff about like conversion therapy camps, and they felt like the sort of people who might get into that under the right circumstances. Yeah. My parents did end up like going through a bunch of my emails and finding me like talking to friends about being trans, and I think I just like I mean, I was lying, and I don't think they were even good lies, but
kind of trying to cover your tracks in a way, or
I think I told them that I was like being an ally or something.
You inevitably came out, right? Mm-hmm. And how did people react to that? Did you get pushback? Did you say that doesn't make sense because you used the word androgynous? And
there was pushback, like namely from my mom, mm-hmm. who she's accepting of gay people, but she didn't really understand what it meant to be trans, and she knew that they existed, that people like us existed, but she definitely didn't understand me because I still had aspects of my femininity showing that didn't make me uncomfortable. So when I came out to her, she said, you know, I still love you, but I just don't see it, and kind of rejected
mm-hmm.
it and tried to pretend like it wasn't there.
Right.
I mean, my sister told me she said it would have been easier if I had passed away. It would have been easier to accept. Wow.
That's a statement. Holy crap.
It was honest, which I talk with her, but she doesn't ever want to see me like who I am.
That need to keep shit secret was very deeply ingrained. And also I think there were people like from like a local Christian youth group that I went to a couple times who went to the same school. And if they saw stuff, they might talk to their parents, who might talk to my parents, and all that jazz.
On Friday, I told people at work, come one day, you're going to see something different.
Something different, and they're probably thinking, just, doing your hair different,
Well, the project manager thought I was joking.
Oh.
Because we joked a lot.
Right, I understood.
So, and it wasn't, so.
I grew up, and I was socialized as a woman for around damn near like 20 years. Like I started coming out 19 to 20-ish. And that's when I started like really like socially changing how I looked, finding my style, being able to really like identify with words towards the end of it. And I didn't even physically start transitioning with like medically until I met my wife. So that really, like, all of that growth took forever.
So I was very paranoid of being like too openly queer, but like I said, I was not actually good at hiding it. I kind of emotionally distanced myself from them pretty quickly after figuring out I was queer. At least the process started then. I don't know. It's not like it's super easygoing, but you know, I have people who support me. That's all I really need.
Yeah. My ex-wife, I told her, and she said, "Well, I can't live with a woman." And I said, "I'm moving out," and she get divorced. And then I probably should have given that more time, but it was like it was rolling.
Exactly. It snowballed down the mountain.
Yeah. And I got two kids. They were a little older than you. You know, they weren't supportive, but it was more with the damage they thought I was doing to the family.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't like kick me out or anything until I started hormones, but yeah,
That was the last straw for them, or like
they didn't want me doing that shit in their house.
were you dressing as a woman then?
I didn't really like buy any clothes or anything. I just got on hormones. Hoped I could hide it for a while. Got a good few months in.
That was the worst, when other trans men told me you're not trans because you're not doing it the way you're supposed to.
Right.
I've came out as many different things throughout my life. Like, for the longest time, I just thought I was a butch lesbian, and that was that. So I came out as lesbian many, many, many times to many, many different people. And I think once I accepted my gender fully, then I'm like, well, I'm not a lesbian. You know, I mean, I've been with a man for 8 years. He's also trans, but still, like, you know, there's more to me than just, like, trying to fit into one box. I just kept, like, hopping boxes. And now I'm like, what the fuck is a box? I'm just queer. Like, do I need to elaborate?
I like that. No, I like that.
Flag.
I'm the whole
I'm the whole flag. Every color. But
gender, to me, my understanding of it is like language. It's completely made up, but it's also real. It's like we make up gender and the idea of what is masculine and what is feminine, but these are real experiences that we have.
Right, absolutely. My boyfriend is non-binary, goes by he, they, and honestly, I just sometimes is so masculine, but has the pink nail polish, and I'm just like, oh, it's the best of both worlds, and I have fun. I'm never bored with them. like it's a lot more, like there's a lot more you can do, and like limiting yourself, and I don't limit. I identify as he/him, but like I don't limit myself. Like I think, like, you know, sometimes I will paint my nails maroon and stuff, but like I think everyone should be in that mindset. It's like, who the fuck cares?
Yes, I always say that, like, you can be a non-binary person and be in a dress or be in pants. You can also be a cis man in a dress and having long nails, and you can present very feminine and not identify in a feminine way. I think that your presentation and your identity, oftentimes they go together, because that's the way that we express ourselves, right? How we dress, what we look like, what our hair is like, if we do makeup or not. But it can also just be fun, playful. Untied to your personal identity, just your expression.
On the one hand, it was alleviating to understand finally how I felt, and that there were words for it, and that there was a whole community that felt the same way. Mm-hmm. And then there were things that could help me alleviate those feelings. And then there's the feeling of, well, shit, I'm gonna get ostracized from my family, and how are my family and friends gonna take this? And with my family relationships, wasn't necessarily, especially with my mother, wasn't going to be a good outcome. Yeah. And I knew that. So
have they maybe come around since? Or no, that's a little heavy.
Well, I talked with them, but I haven't seen them since I did come home. So I haven't seen them in 7 years. I do talk with them on, chat with them on Facebook. Keep that in context. I know what, especially with my daughter, I know what she's up to. And my son's role is private, a little more private on Facebook, so I don't see what he's up to very much.
Looking back, what do you wish your family or loved ones had understood from the beginning?
Nothing else, nothing about me, the core of who I am, has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was ever going to change. It was just about how I was comfortable being authentic in myself and being whole in myself. It's not about them. It's not something, I think something that irks me sometimes is the selfishness of it. When you come out to your family members and they grieve and they feel the need to openly grieve who they believe they're losing in you. And while I can understand that there's the idea of the person that you believe that you think that you're grieving. Cool. I understand that, but that's a lot of baggage to put on the person that's currently going through their own.
It's like you're causing it in a way, and you're like, I'm just trying to be myself here.
Yeah, like the only thing that you're trying to look for is support and love and just a cushion. That's all. Just to be like, hey, while you're figuring your shit out, like I'm here. That's all. And a lot of times that's all people need, but
you could tell like my mother was hurt, but she still loved me and accepted me. I think she just didn't understand. And we never argued about it. My mom supports me 100%. My dad supports me. My family, I have been so blessed, is amazing. I was one way for 28 years. And it wasn't that I just decided, like there was little tidbits and hints, but like when I officially was like, no, you were going to address me as this, or this is how I want to be addressed. And this is what's going to happen. Because I'm going to give you the forewarning instead of coming in one day and just being like, hey, your family is losing somebody in a sense or gaining somebody. So put it that way, like they're gaining someone new, but they're kind of losing somebody old. And some people don't handle that well, or they had the envisionment and I think everybody does it. It doesn't matter. Like if you have kids, you have an envisionment of you want your kid to go to college. You might want them to get married, or you have hopes and dreams for your kid. Sometimes that changes.
So like with my dad, we have an interesting or a tenuous relationship, I'd say. But I love him. He's my dad. He was of the opinion, the way that he phrased it to me was, he's not going to walk away from his child. He's not going to turn his back on his child. I'm still his child, but I'm never going to be his son.
Yeah.
And that
does he
hurts.
Still? He does. Yeah, that's heavy. Does he still say?
He doesn't. He has a difficult time with gendering me correctly when we talk on the phone. He texted me recently for my birthday and said, "Happy birthday, old lady," and like things like that.
I'm sure that doesn't feel good.
It does not. It doesn't.
If your younger self could meet the person you are now, what do you imagine they would say?
What they would say or what I would say?
Or maybe both.
I know what I would tell them. I said, don't wait so damn long.
Don't wait so.
And which you recall, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, which was a very tricky time. I think my younger self would say, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Wow. It's so, I feel like people are able to be themselves a little bit more now. Obviously, there's so much that needs fixing still. And I feel like community is such an important part of survival. What are your thoughts on community? Has that really brought you some comfortability? Obviously, representation is very important.
In the grand scheme of things, no matter what the context of the question, community is the most important thing. We're nothing if not a social species. We're built to be together. I feel like life is about other people.
I remember meeting a girl named Vic, and she really helped me pull myself out of my shell and like saw me for me at the time, and that was really, really important to me. And it wasn't that other friends that I had been kind of talking to in the process of like understanding how I felt about my new gender identity and kind of poking and prodding at what I really wanted to identify as. But I'm grateful for having crossed paths with her because she really helped me understand that I could be seen for, just it's that easy. Like I can just tell somebody, hey, this is how I identify, and they can respect that.
Absolutely.
And they can still see me through all of it, because that's like, I haven't nothing about me is changing aside from how I'm outwardly presenting myself.
Absolutely, yeah.
I worked at this place called the Q Center, which is like an advocacy place for LGBTQ people. I worked there for a few months, and working that kind of job kind of gave me a perspective from the other side of things, because like I had been raised Christian and I went to Catholic school, and I had like been shame for so long that this was like so much the opposite, where it's like, you know, we are celebrating our identities. We're not ashamed of who we are. Like, we are a support system. And I think agencies like that are really like incredible resources for people, because there are a lot of people who like feel like they're alone in their transition or in their identity, and they feel extremely ostracized. And like having a place you can go to where it's like, hey, it's okay that you're you, you know, it's like that really opens a lot up for people, like as far as like feeling accepted, you know. And it's a powerful thing. It's beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful.
I remember one time I was sitting on the bus, and there was a woman behind me talking to whomever about how her son was trans, but she doesn't understand because he dresses very feminine still. And I just had to, and I turned around and I just talked with her. I said, I'm in the same position as your son. This is how I wish my mom could have been there for me, and what I wish she could have understood. And she thanked me because she said, like, I just felt so lost and I didn't know who to ask, and I felt like the universe like just put us right there.
Wow, that must have meant a lot.
Yeah.
And that's just a complete stranger.
I got so motion sick because I turned around the whole bus ride. Like,
oh my gosh, but a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And then they got off the bus and carried on with their day.
Mm-hmm.
That's just wonderful. I love those small exchanges. And
honestly, the thing I always come back to though is just that immediate. I guess I have another sister now from my older sister. That was, especially when I was in as rough places I had been, even if I wasn't openly out at that point. That's just something that stuck with me for a while.
absolutely, yeah, it's powerful. That is a powerful response.
Yeah, sometimes it hurts when people don't really foster community, but it's the most important thing. I find community with like people in my city, and it's weird because I also like find community with, it's gonna sound crazy, people who've been dead for centuries, both like my ancestors, and also just learning from history books how trans people have always existed, and like seeing paintings or reading writings of our experiences, and knowing that like it's kind of like we're looking at each other through time and saying like we're still here.
Yeah, and you know, there just wasn't a word for it then.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, someone mentioned the other day that it feels like sometimes we're moving forward, sometimes we're moving back, but I hope that there will be a time when this isn't even a discussion. At the point of this is to have that sprinkle of hope, and I just feel like there is hope for individuals like us, and I don't know, I'm just saying stuff.
I think we have to have hope. Like, if you, not to sound like a bleeding heart or anything, but like if you don't have hope, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, no, but for real, like, how do you expect things to get better if you don't wish for that, and if you don't have like a vision of it?
Absolutely, that's great. Who in your life makes you feel the most like you, and how do they do that?
At this point in my life, maybe Raven? I don't know. He's a cool guy.
Clip Raven, man.
That's awesome. He's a very cool guy. Be nice to him. Yeah, it's fun. I can I don't know, I can be a little like playful in ways that I don't always feel like I get to be. It's nice.
So what barriers have you faced in healthcare as a trans person?
So I feel like every person has their own story or path to tell, so it might be different.
Insurance was a little rough because like at the time I was on my parents' insurance and I didn't want to use that. So like I wasn't sure exactly what to do.
It took me 6 years to get a celiac diagnosis. Several doctors. And my symptoms started at the beginning of my college years. And that was way prior to me having any kind of medical transition track at all. Because I get such bad inflammation in my joints and my legs that it just feels like I'm walking through cement. And then I get super lethargic, plus all the stomach stuff. It's not a fun time. I told them for years, because I wasn't experiencing anything gastro-wise, but I was experiencing all the nerve issues. They were telling me that nothing was wrong. First, it was misdiagnosing me because they said that I needed to stretch more because I just wasn't used to being on my feet. I played sports my entire life. Then they tried telling me that it was because of my period and that my symptoms were just, correlating because of that, because, I still had that issue going on back then. And then once I started actually physically transitioning with testosterone, then they started blaming it on the fact that I was taking testosterone and said, well, it can cause these kinds of growing pains, and well, you're taking testosterone and this is just, we don't know how it's going to affect your body that way. Yes, they did. The transition care doctors that I was under, because they were separate from my regular care doctor. At the time she was my fiance, she was crying in the doctor's office because I couldn't walk up the stairs because we couldn't figure out what the fuck was wrong. And it was gluten.
To me, it was very inwards. There was something different about me. Once I got the education and knowledge of it, I took the steps to fix it. Yeah. And I don't mean fix, because I know everybody can take that off as the wrong thing. No, I mean help us be better. I mean, when someone's sick, what do you give them? You give them medicine. This is our medicine to help us feel more aligned with ourselves, because I can tell you before, I didn't feel aligned with myself at all. It was like two people battling.
I ended up basically just paying out of pocket, but I had an online friend, who helped me with that stuff, which was really great. Awesome. So I guess I faced probably a number of obstacles, but with the power of friendship, I prevailed.
People don't understand how much of it's a choice, but it's not a choice. What's the choice? You live authentically or you don't. It was this, or I continue to live in a miserable existence and want to off myself all the time. I don't want to do that anymore.
And people are like, don't say that. And it's like, no, it is. It's that serious. It's very serious.
So yes, I can say there was a choice, because I had to choose going with the flow and hiding myself all life, or really taking a stand and going, no, this is what's going to make me happy because I'll be me.
Right.
And
it's your truth.
I stepped up to the plate and took the steps that I needed to do. And they make it very, very hard to do. It's not just like you walk up to somebody and be like, hey, I want some of this and some of that and make me a boy. And you're a boy. Years and months and even before the start of the process, there's so many paperwork things and discussing things. And I can only imagine, I was lucky because at least when I did it, the time was very more accepting, where now we're kind of, I feel, starting to backtrack a little bit. It's getting harder for people. Yeah. So, and that waiting game is at least to me, was detrimental on my mind. That was the worst part, was the waiting, because why do I have to look to anybody to accept me as a person?
I would see people on YouTube or on Tumblr who were trans and were living their lives authentically, and I was like, whoa, wait a second, that's who I am. I just never knew that's what it was called, People are having top surgery and they're on hormones and they're this is my boy's 6 months on T, yada yada, and I was like, wow, because in my head before that, I thought it was just an expression, that was the most I could do, that I could just wear the clothes I wanted to wear, and then that would be that. But I didn't know there was anything else I could do to help me feel more aligned with who I am. And not that I've really done a whole lot of that. I mostly just took testosterone for a little while. I'm not even on it anymore, to be entirely frank with you, but that's just my own personal choice. It is what it is. I have no interest in shaming anyone for how they go about their transition. Whatever you feel you need to do to feel like yourself, perfectly fine. I'm not telling anyone there's a right way or a wrong way. It's your way. And that's Absolutely. That. You know what I mean?
We're playing chicken with the healthcare system, because it seems like every time we get a little farther, they push us back again. Because I feel like a few years ago, and by a few years ago I mean circa 2016, it was so much easier to get access to things like hormones. Now they're putting all these loops in front of it, and they're spreading lies about the care that we actually do receive. So now the care that we do receive, which is not what they're claiming that we get, is even harder to access. I had a medical crisis and I wasn't fully conscious, and my friends were speaking for me to the nurses, and they were I needed to get tested to see if I had drugs in my system, or to see if I was hurt, and they couldn't get past the fact that my friends were calling me he. And it's just help me.
Help me.
Like,
I feel like that's wild because I like doctors, nurses are trained to say I have to operate on anyone, and you just treat them like anyone else. Why are they stopping and thinking about who you are? Like that's, I don't know. It's wild.
They're like trying to break down their language and understand, like, why do you keep saying he? And they have to like educate and say, what are you talking about?
Who cares?
Okay,
also?
so this is our transgender friend. Anyways, he's having a medical crisis. Can we please
focus on this?
Focus on his blood pressure,
We should not be laughing, but if you don't, it hurts.
But that's what happens. And, can you please take his temperature? God forbid. Like, it does not change depending on pronouns. We promise. So it's not just can we receive the care to transition, it's also just how we are treated in a hospital receiving the most basic of care that applies to anybody.
I saw a family doctor, I don't know if it's like a pediatrician or something, but I remember one of the last times I went to see that doctor was like when I was transitioning, and she straight up told me, like, I don't know how to care for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just like any other patient. Like, you just ask me questions and like I answer them. But she basically refused to be my doctor anymore, which is like, I mean, she won an award that year too, which is just like, just for you, you so deserve that. You were the most transphobic doctor. Congratulations.
If you are choosing to help yourself, like, do your research, look at your doctors, make sure that doctor knows what they're doing, because that was my first mistake. I went to a doctor who was a hormone doctor. Did they say they could help me get, my testosterone up? Yep. Well, the normal thing that I found out later is they boost your testosterone for a couple months, and then we'll start lowering it down and even it out. So, like, I don't know if anyone's explained how it like works. I can explain from my process. Yeah. So for a female, you have the higher estrogen and like the low testosterone. So what they'll do is they give you the medicine, which would be testosterone usually, and they inject it. You can put it on a gel. There's a couple other ways to do it. And over time, the testosterone shoots right up and then drops your estrogen down. And then what they do is they start lowering the testosterone, and it will start evening out to where like it's a normal level for a man or estrogen for a woman. What my doctor did was great, but there's time frames for certain things, and I don't think, and he's a great doctor. Like, I did like him as a person. He didn't understand the time frames. I was over a year on that and started having really serious physical issues with my blood pressure and my heart. And went to a doctor, and they're going, yeah, your blood pressure. Well, finally, I found a actual doctor who deals with transgenders, who has done it for years. Like, I did background on him, and yeah, do I have to drive out, which kind of sucks? Yep. But he immediately knew exactly what happened. Goes, oh, how long have you? I go, yeah, I've been on this dosage for a year. And he went, like, goes, wait, he's like, you're only supposed to be on that like a couple months. And then they were supposed to. He goes, yeah, that in the long term, if no one found that out, could have killed me. Like, I could have stroked out or had a heart attack because my blood pressure was literally sky high every day.
Wow, that's an oversight.
No, and that's the thing is, that's why, like, do your research, learn the knowledge, learn the long-term effects of what it can happen, too. Don't just go running out of the gate because, like, I care about everybody. I don't want anybody to hurt themselves, especially if you're trying to be who you are.
Right.
Because if that's truly the thing, don't make the mistakes, because then you're going to kind of mess up like I did.
Right.
And have to deal with certain things too. Like,
it's very important.
I wasn't explained fully properly about switching up shots every couple months. Just people who don't understand, like, when you do the testosterone, you're supposed to alternate. So the right way to do it would be like thigh 1 week, arm, butt, stomach.
Yeah, people don't think about this stuff.
No, probably. I didn't know at all. I did my thighs for 7 years alternating, and for me, I did it weekly.
Is that true for any kind of injection, or is it just for this?
No, I think it's more intramuscular injections and testosterone, because you're doing it so much. I'm not sure about diabetics, and I'm like, for my medical knowledge, I'm not that. But for me, I focused on my thighs. So getting that scar tissue and damage so much finally took toll on my hip. They had to do a little procedure, which put holes in my hip to stimulate new cell growth because my hip bone was dying.
Right.
And they said what caused me to find out was my dog tripped me. But they said if my dog didn't trip me, and they said it had nothing to do with my dog at all, like it had been going on.
Yeah.
That I would have just been walking probably at my job, and I would have just fell over and had the worst pain of my life because it's like your bone snaps and it goes through your pelvis. It's like awful.
Wow.
So I got lucky because of my dog tripping me. But like,
it's funny how the things work out, right?
It is. So just take care, do your research, like make sure you know who your doctor is. Like definitely look up if they like now. If I look for a healthcare practitioner, which I have a doctor now when I went to recently look for one, I specifically asked, are they okay with LGBTQ?
Right.
But you want someone who's going to be affirmative care for you too, to care enough that, hey, I feel this way. They're going to take a look at it, or they're going to give you the guidance of how you can take the tools and find somebody else that can help you a little bit more. Then I can say, definitely knowing me, I'm happier with myself as a person and like my inner so much more than I ever was.
Yeah.
There are people, and it's a shock to me, but there are people in this world who don't want to kill themselves and who have never. I'm sorry.
What's that like?
It's a shock. No, dead ass. Because honestly, like I'm 31 years old and I never thought I was going to get to this point.
Yeah.
I did not. There was a question on your thing where did you see a future? I did not.
Yeah.
I've never been able to picture myself with a future. Now I do. Now I'm thinking about like
I'm
my
very
kid
glad.
that might be running around here soon.
You want to say what you're like if I don't know the news.
Oh, we don't have any news yet.
Okay.
No,
okay,
we just
fine.
have we've started the journey, so hopefully by the end of December we'll have a little one running around. But
that's
like,
why I kind of want you to mention that, because it's like it is possible for
God,
trans people to live a happy life, and that's also what I want the series to be about.
Yeah.
So that's like jackpot. No, no, but it's so like see, like other people can see it. Teenagers who watch this or be like,
I remember what it was like.
Yeah.
I don't have those thoughts anymore, although I do. I go always around when I hear about people that I know who committed suicide, or especially veterans, trans veterans have a very high suicide rate, over 50%. You're a veteran. Yeah. And I've got, I'm on anxiety medicine, have been since 2016 after, I think it's all started like when my father passed away. And that's how I actually started looking at what was going on.
I have recently started meeting some members of the community that are older than me, far older than me. They're like in their 50s and 60s. And that is very inspiring for me.
Yeah.
And I know what it was like to watch my neighbor's best friend, who happens to be an older trans man. He's very involved in the community. He's a fantastic guy, but he's older. It's very nice to see somebody out walking around, living his life, and just being visible, just who he is.
Right.
Like they see the statistics of like, the percentage of people that identify as transgender that may take their lives, or they see the statistic of like the amount of people who identify as transgender that also have a comorbidity of depression and have these different issues going on, or like, you know what I mean, like homelessness and all these different attributes. And like,
it's just, I don't know, it really frustrates me because I feel like you're not seeing the whole picture when you say stuff like that. Like you're saying that you're trans because you're mentally ill, not the other way around. Maybe your experiences are what kind of like makes it hard for you to go about life, because people are always trying to form an opinion about you just for existing. And there's people who wish that we didn't exist, and it's like, well, we do, and we have for centuries, for fucking since the beginning of time. Like there's so many cultures before Western culture that had like trans kind of things, like Two-Spirit and Native culture and stuff like that. And it's like, this is not something new. Like we're acting like this just started to happen. Like, oh my god, all of a sudden everybody's trans. It's like, no, not everybody is trans. We're still a minority, and we're not out here recruiting people being like, oh, you should be trans too, come join my club.
The thing is that if you have support, it's amazing how much different of a trajectory your life can go if you have the right support. And that's what it comes down to. Like when I went through therapy, they made sure like in the initial steps, because I had to get a psychologist, a therapist, and a doctor's letter, and that was just to get on testosterone.
Wow, it's hurdles. That's a
And
thing.
then
Like,
to get
not a whim. Back
top
on that.
surgery was also, I had to go back through and get all of those to make sure that I had been a year on testosterone.
You have
first.
to want it. You know,
you
like,
have to go through all the steps and make sure that you truly want it. I remember being in therapy and them talking to me. My therapist was fantastic, and at the time I was still trying to grapple with the fact that, like, you know, this is reality for me. This is just how I experience my gender and how I experience life and living in this body. If I want to be comfortable, this is what I need to do for myself. And I hadn't gotten to the point of actually deciding to get on testosterone yet, because that was going to cause a break in my relationship with my mother that I wasn't prepared for. Not yet. I remember her telling me and asking me if I was absolutely, when she's like, this is the last time I'm going to ask you. She goes, and I know it's not something that you want to hear, because it definitely, like, it's something that after the first 50 fucking times it gets really annoying. Are you sure? She's like, I have to go through this list with you. You know that your depression is not going to be cured by this. You know that the suicidal ideation may not be cured by this. The things that you've experienced, the traumatic events that you've gone through, the way that you've harbored this kind of CPTSD, the issues that you have going on, those are not all going to be cured just by you changing your gender. You know that, right? And I said, absolutely. That's not why I'm doing this. Because if I take this one component and I can feel a little bit more comfortable in this flesh prison that I have to walk around in every fucking day, then I can start breathing a little easier and deal with everything else that as it comes and understand myself a little bit.
It's
better.
like a rain cloud. That's why it's like too much.
It's too much. It's overflowing, and you just need a bigger basin. It's frustrating.
That's frustrating. Sorry. No, that was awesome. How does public perception through laws, media, and politics affect your sense of safety and the safety of LGBTQ?
I guess given the current state of, like, our political administration, the regular proposition of bills that not only dehumanize trans and queer people, but also strip them of their basic legal rights and human rights, I don't think it feels safe.
I feel like the most insidious part of prejudice is that it makes you do the same thing. In the same way people are hateful of transgender people, I will get on the bus and I'll see someone who fits the stereotype of someone who's transphobic, and I'll be afraid. Right. And I have to, like, fight that notion in my head, because that's exactly what they do to us. It's really hard, especially now, because there's this fear mongering in the government and in politics, and every time they want to eradicate a group or suppress a group, they lie and say that they're a threat to children. And it's like, I don't like children, but I'm more afraid of them than they are of me. Like,
it is intensely emotionally taxing to constantly be bombarded whenever I look at the news,
it's terrifying. It's the worst. It's the worst feeling that the people who are supposed to be making it so that everyone in their country gets what they need are dividing people and painting us out to be like the postmodern boogeyman. Like, it's crazy.
Growing up as a military kid, the country that I grew up, that I was supposed to be a willing participant and a proud participant in, this melting pot of a society, to find that it has no place for me. It's possible that if I go out of the country, if something pops up that my birth certificate has been amended and it's not the right sex on my birth certificate, is that going to pop up? Are the state laws enough to protect me when I'm coming to and from the country federally? If not, am I going to be criminalized for fraudulently misrepresenting my sex? Those are ways that you criminalize you criminalize human beings just for existing. That's what, like, to have to see that and to know that I'm limited in a sense of where I can move to for states. People are like, oh, fuck Florida, we don't need Florida. What about all the gay people that are living there? What about the people who have no choice? What about the kids that are living there that are queer and gender nonconforming and any other kind of, like, identity under the sun?
That's the reality.
What about them? Why do we have to leave them behind?
Yeah.
Personally, I sort of think that everything is political.
Right, yeah.
I've never trusted the government. That's a side note.
Right.
You can keep that in.
Are matters of identity political? Unfortunately, largely, yes.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it's Obviously, I would prefer a world in which we were not the hot topic of the current administration, and we're not the only ones, at least.
That's the basis for most of my fear of my safety, is how the government is painting us out to be this thing that needs to be exterminated, this danger.
I feel people do not understand how serious some of these things are, and I feel it's not that bad. Like, people almost don't want to hear, or they genuinely don't know. Is there anything you want to share about what's actually happening? Like, do you...
Yeah. So this idea that we're dangerous people, I just try to ride the bus every day and go to my job and get enough food to feed my cats and my ferret.
You mean you're a normal person? You mean you're a normal person?
I mean, don't let anybody know, but
I know. You do things like go to work.
I do laundry. Can you believe it?
I can't even do that.
How dare I have short hair?
How fucking, like, what kind of
grow that hair
menace?
Out. You better put on a bonnet.
Not the bonnet. Not the bonnet.
Not the bonnet.
The current administration is not great for trans people. It's emboldened a lot of people to be really shitty, and it's creating an unsafe environment for trans people, especially trans people of color, and especially trans women of color.
Yeah.
And this idea that we're going to trans your children's gender, like, it's not true.
They're not educated.
There's so many opinions that are formulated from misinformation, and this misinformation is perpetuated, and it's insidious, especially at a political level. It's disgusting. And they make everything, they politicize our lives to the point where we have regular everyday interactions where I can go to the grocery store and I have to listen to somebody behind me talk about, did you see that chick with a dick that just walked in? Did you see what those trannies are doing?
I work at a restaurant.
Like, sorry for the slur, but that's, yeah. Like,
and I literally serve tables, and some customers will joke, and I just have to be like, yeah, it's a conversation starter, an icebreaker.
It doesn't fucking, totally.
I'm like,
They're
what?
out of touch.
Here's your pasta.
Choke on it, I guess.
Choke on it.
No, but it's...
We have always existed from, like, the beginning of society. We have always existed in every culture in every part of the world. It's been made political, and I don't want it to be, but that's not a choice that I get to make. That's what the powers that be get to choose. And how deep do you want me to cut into this? It has to be political, and it's a shame that that's how it is, but that's what they've done, and so we have to carry on and get it to a point where it's not political anymore, because this is just a state of being.
Absolutely.
Like, in terms of my identity, I tend to see myself first as a lesbian, then as a woman, and then as transgender. It's not... And then before all that, I'm a communist. So.
First and foremost. That's funny, I love that.
Like, this is going to get dark.
It's okay.
Have you ever heard of V-coding? That's a term for a lot of the time trans women are put in men's prisons, and they're put in men's prisons, and a lot of the time they are put into cells with men, essentially as rewards for those men, like, especially with, like, violent and aggressive men, to sort of keep them placated, I guess. I don't know. And so obviously they experience a lot of sexual assault and, violence and stuff around those lines. It's not great.
But just like objectively, factually, statistically, I don't think it's a super safe place for trans folks to be. And not just in the US. There's anti-trans legislation on the rise. Bigotries in fashion.
So how do you feel about what the word passing means to certain groups of people, and how it's almost like if you're more passing, then you are a better trans person, you're a more acceptable, more I could tolerate you because you blend in better of what I think is normal.
People are born with bodies and body types and body shapes, And it's like, no matter how much hormones you take, no matter how much surgery you have, there's a chance you could still look like, you know, the gender you were assigned at birth, and you can't help it. And it's like trying to blame somebody for that which they cannot control, completely unfair. Like, if I say that I'm a man and I feel that I'm a man, what more do you need? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
people treat trans people better when they're passing most of the time. But then also, passing is always pretty conditional, right? Sometimes somebody is having an off day. Like, obviously, looking cis would be safer in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that passing, this idea of passing, and what encapsulates it for people, there are plenty of people who are going to look at someone and be like, you don't have an Adam's apple that's visible, you're trans.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be harmful. It's going to become a fucking witch hunt.
Yeah.
Look at what's happening already in other states that have these strict laws, where people are going in and just, whether it's queer women or not, someone that looks like they're too broad-shouldered walks into the women's restroom and then suddenly she's being dragged out by a cop.
I'm comfortable sharing. I was assigned female at birth, and there are people who always tell me, like, you'll never be a woman. And I'm like, oh, you're accidentally, like, being really nice to me.
That's
I'm
funny.
trying to be transphobic. Like, I have people who think I'm a trans woman who are, like, mean to me and calling me a man because they think I'm a trans woman, you know? So
they do the same thing with gay people, where it's like, you can be gay, just don't, like, throw it in my face. And it's like, they'll, like, have a friend who's gay and they, like, aren't, like, flamboyant or whatever. So they're like, oh, I can accept you because you don't act like those other people, you know? You aren't putting on makeup and standing on the runway, but, you know? And it's like, why do you care if people do that? Are you only accepting of trans or gay people if they act like straight people? Like,
my major thing for me is when I was female beforehand, I did not pass as female. So, like, I was constantly told, oh my God, get out of the girls' bathroom. I even had a woman hide her children and glare at me because they thought I was just being some creepy guy, when literally all I wanted to do was go
And
to
this
the
was
bathroom.
before you started.
And this was before my transition
Yeah.
at all. I've been called it. I've been called so many things for being who I was.
I think it's complex. I think partially I feel so grateful to be associated with women because there are so many women I love and admire, and I identified really strongly as a woman for a long time, and maybe one day I will again. I think that for some folks who are trans, their identities are a bit more fixed, and for some folks there's a bit more fluidity, whether it's happening day by day or happening with different seasons of life that they're in. But I think it's kind of a double-sided coin. Like, there's a privilege to it. Being able to not visibly pass as trans keeps me safe.
I hated going into the bathroom because, like, I knew if somebody walked in and I walked out at the wrong time, like, I was gonna get a dirty look. So I feel like I had it almost like the opposite. Yeah, like,
that's not cool.
It was so. The funniest one is when someone backpedaled so far they literally almost fell backwards, and I just looked and was just like, well, there you go. There's nothing. Or like how I naturally as a female had a lower voice. Mm. So to sit there and have to raise my voice and try and sound like, and it was a game.
Yeah.
And sadly, because back then I was gay, so like my partners had to see it, and to watch them get upset, to watch how stereotypical people can be, or like mean or judgmental, like it's a process.
Yeah.
I think passing can be really helpful or really harmful. And passing is really validating. And I don't want to take that away from anyone, because I think being seen as who you are is one of the most beautiful and vulnerable things. But I also think this notion of passing can be harmful. The constant comparisons, the worsening of dysphoria because you don't feel that you're feminine or masculine enough, financial barriers, medical barriers. Not everyone can afford electrolysis, hair removal treatment, or top surgery.
It's expensive to be trans. Like,
yes. A lot of these things have access barriers. And so I think that passing can also be something that folks feel like they're not trans enough, or that they're not who they are because of the concept of passing. It doesn't serve anyone. Yeah. And it's not because I want to push an agenda. It's not because I want to make anyone's kids trans. It's because I want everyone to be safe and healthy and be able to make informed choices about their own bodies.
they're thinking more about trans people than trans people are thinking about being trans. Because I'm sure you don't, oh, I'm going to take my trans shower, I'm going to eat my trans eggs, I'm going to go have my, you know, you're not thinking, you're just thinking, I'm going to do my to-do list today, and you're not, the other people are thinking about trans people more than trans people are. Like, that's my experience, at least. Have you ever experienced discrimination in jobs or housing? And if so,
What am I allowed to say on here?
Generally, it was more like being ignored. Walking down the halls, people I would say hello to usually would like, just keep running walking.
They had to call me by my dead name. And I'm going, but that's not my name now. And you're confusing everybody because I look like this right now and I do not look like what I did. And you're calling me by my dead name. Well, we have to go by government paperwork because God forbid you ever get in trouble, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But I was just like, that's detrimental in my life and dangerous. And the day that I was able to go and set that paperwork down and be like, you changed my name.
Right now. Yeah.
It was done, and you could tell the flow just went so much better. And
I was out as non-binary to the person intaking me into the job. Since I was out to this person, they assumed that I was out everywhere. I, at this point, was stealth, which is a term that trans folks use for going with either the gender that you are assigned at birth or the gender that folks might assume that you are. So I was presenting as a woman at this job. Using she, her pronouns, not identifying as non-binary publicly. Rather than asking this person wanting to be inclusive and having wonderful intentions, told the entire staff that I was non-binary, encouraging them to use my pronouns, not realizing that this would make other staff discriminate against me.
Oh, so they might have had good intentions by doing this, but and that's interesting, actually. No.
So I started being treated poorly by a few of my coworkers that had previously gotten along with me. And I cannot obviously prove that it was that, but I would assume. But I ended up leaving this job. And in my exit interview, I mentioned being outed and how that made me feel uncomfortable. And how if they had trans folks in the future, that perhaps checking in with them, seeing how they identify publicly, seeing if they'd like to be called a different name, but maybe not different pronouns. They had said, you can't have it both ways. So they said that if I was going to be out and if I wanted to be respected as a trans person, that it was fine that they outed me. Because didn't I want to be respected as a trans person? Didn't I want to be properly identified? So they said that in asking, I was being hypocritical in my request for inclusion.
But it's your choice if you want to come out.
It's very hard to come out at my job, but I try to do it as often as possible. And as soon as possible, so that that's not a hurdle to come over later. But I also think sometimes it would be better for me if I just didn't come out, and then later after they realize they don't have an issue with me, I come out then, and they're like, oh, well, maybe this person's okay, or maybe trans people are okay. So it's a really hard thing to balance, for sure.
I kind of just wish that people would just let us live. But I still, to this day, am scared to use public bathrooms because you don't know how people are going to react. And it's like I am a human with a human body who has to do human body things because I just don't want to be like the victim of a hate crime. You know what I mean? Like, there's been many times I just held it because I don't know where a safe bathroom is. And it shouldn't fucking be that way. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't. But it just always seems to be a topic of debate. People like to talk about other people's lives that have no personal effect on them, and they scapegoat us, and they make us seem like we're predators or like grooming children, when it's like,
no.
You look on the other side of the fence, there's a lot of that going on that nobody seems to want to address or talk about. So instead of addressing or talking about it, they project it onto a different community to be like, no, that doesn't happen here. It's done over there.
Because like I've met some people, especially this year, who are they're ignorant, but they mean well, they're good people, they go to work, they treat other people with respect, and maybe they say some questionable things, but a little correction could go so far. Like, I don't know, but it just depends on who is able to handle being challenged like that, because some people react not so well. They're like, oh, You know,
Right.
it's just like open your mind to
They just
having
get
an
set in their
opinion
ways
change.
and they don't want to be challenged.
Yeah, like have your mind opened a little bit. Like be open to having your opinion changed. Like that's what makes life incredible. I love having my mind changed about things.
Right.
It's so awesome. I'm like, what? I didn't know that. You know, it's exciting to be like, wow, there's still so much to learn.
I don't believe in punishing people for not knowing something. That's not how people learn.
As long as people lead with good intentions, then we could open a conversation that will help many, many people. So
Absolutely.
I love that. So what role do you think allies should play in advocating for trans rights?
They have such an important role. They have a very, what I view as a very sacred role, which is amplifying voices and listening.
Be an amplifier. What you're doing by amplifying our voices is admirable. That's exactly what I would want from an ally. Don't overshadow, but be the person that can lift trans experiences up into the spotlight, because a lot of the time it is overshadowed by allies who think that they're doing good for the community and they just kind of overstep. They take on there's a lot of performative allyship that ends up happening, whether it's in social media spaces, whether it's in personal community spaces, that people are willing to like show out, but not willing to show up, if that makes any sense.
And you really shouldn't even ask that question. It should just, the support should be unqualified. And so allies need to, allies are necessary. I mean, the allies outnumber us. I mean, the possible.
You're right, yeah.
Outnumber us.
I love what you're saying.
They don't have to understand why, they just have to know that it is.
And I mean like showing up where it matters. Showing up where your friend is having a hard time making their appointments, or they're having a hard time getting hands on their testosterone because their insurance stopped covering it and maybe they need help with funding. Maybe it's between that and groceries and they really can't deal with going without their medicine, so they deal with that. Learn about what's going on with your friends and what they're struggling with, and really try to uplift them in the community in that sense. Because that's what we need. Teaching each other skills, life skills. If someone's good at finance, the other person's good at woodworking, get together, help them out. That's where it matters. It's not just about being trans either. It's about building community across the board, because that's really the only thing that we're going to have left.
A lot of allies feel like they're helpless and like they can't do anything other than regurgitate what they've heard trans people say. That's really powerful, because the people whose minds we have to open, I don't like saying change minds, I like saying open their minds. Their minds are not going to open to the people who they've decided they are already against. It's going to come from the people they are already fond of, that they're close to, and that they trust. So other cis people. So we need to stop closing off all these people who have an adverse opinion to us, because that's not how we affect change. It's having really hard, really uncomfortable conversations with people that we love. And because that's the only way that they are going to get better, is when they get it in their heads that people who are close to them are affected by this and care.
Absolutely.
So that's what allies have to do. And another really important thing, so important, advocate for us when we're not there. That is so important, and I can't say that enough.
Being an ally to me is more what you say when the person isn't in the room than what you say when the person is. Because when you're talking to like a trans person directly or gay person directly, and you want them to be your friend, then of course you're going to say things that you think they're going to agree with. But when that person's not there, are you still saying those things, or are you just trying to like appease? You know, that's the difference for me. And I don't think allies should speak over trans voices or, you know, anybody's voice other than the people who deserve to be heard. But they should be lifting those voices up, and then when they're not in the room, continuing that same narrative and not just like pretending to care, you know.
Right.
The one thing I try to live by, which would be that you deserve to be in a place that brings out the softness in you, not only their survival. And I try to live by that, because like, who are you if you're not a safe person to be around?
So if you're an ally, just I think you should first of all educate yourselves. There's so many resources for you, and secondly, educate the people around you. It might be hard taking the flack for standing up for us. It is much harder for us to take that flack if it isn't within your ability to do so without being put out on the street or something. Speak up if you can.
There's a lot of pressure put on trans people, especially ones who come out when they're young, because you have to have an answer to every question when other people don't get it. It's like, I'm still figuring myself out. I'm a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not now, but
Yeah,
but when I was figuring it out, I was getting to know who I was, and then people wanted an answer, like, well, okay, well, why do you still dress this way? Why do you still act like this, talk like this? And it's, and that was hard to kind of navigate.
I feel like people are trying to make a decision for you, and it's like, maybe there's not a clear-cut case. Maybe it's like, this is who I am today. And
I do also feel like trans people in general are expected to be perpetual educators and be happy and chipper and friendly about it all the time. I feel as if we're given these questions that are not always as thoughtful and as kind as yours, and not always as well-intentioned as yours, and expected to answer them. And if we set a boundary or react in a negative way, it's, well, that's the big angry trans person, that's the mean trans person, that's the unreliable trans person who's pushing their narrative, who doesn't like me because XYZ. I think that it's wonderful to want to get your information directly from trans people, and I think you should. And there are so many folks out there who will go out of their way and want to explain and be excited about explaining. But the other side of that coin is recognizing that educators are also people, and not all trans people are educators, and that's okay. Not every trans person owes you an explanation. Not every trans person owes you answers. Not every trans person wants to talk about being trans or talk about their experience being trans. Not every trans person knows these things. There are some folks who have gotten surgery who may know things that folks without surgery or folks who are not on hormones may have no idea about. So I think it puts folks at a disadvantage when they're expected to educate not only for their mental well-being, but because trans people, like any group of people, are not a monolith. Because one trans person cannot speak for every trans person, cannot represent every trans person. It shouldn't be expected to shoulder that.
If you could sit down with someone like this who is completely ignorant, and maybe they want to know, or maybe they're very uninformed, what would you say to try to get them to understand about, hey, I'm a person. I'm not a monster, I promise. I feed my cats.
I feed my cats, I promise.
But if you could sit down with someone who may not know about this universe, what would you say to them?
We're 0.01% of the fucking population.
Learn to accept me.
Right.
We are all just trying to live our lives, and we just want to be the happiest that we can be, and I think that's for anybody.
Think about the greatest shame that you have about yourself, or the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and think of the thing that you are proudest that you have done, and every other person has something of equal value to them. And you are no better or worse than anybody else.
They could forego the preconceived beliefs and just focus on the person that's in front of them. Like, this person is nice to me, this person is funny, this person is whatever. And instead it's once they know that one piece of information about you, it completely changes everything that they think about you from that point forward. You know what I mean?
I ask that you treat us and look at us like cis people. You don't ask your good friend what their genitals look like. You don't ask somebody, hey, what's this, what was your name before you changed it? Usually that's not a question that you ask, or hey, what's this big traumatic thing from your past? Can you elaborate that in detail?
Yeah.
There's this whole slew of things that every person's just open to. I mean, I am, but that you're just open to discussing just by virtue of you being trans. And it's just no, just treat us like cis people.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing if you misgender us too. You misgender cis people all the time, but you don't get on your knees and beg for forgiveness and do this whole song and dance about how sorry you are. You say, you correct yourself, and then you finish the sentence. Now, all the people who do that, I do sincerely believe that it comes from a place of caring. But to look at it from our perspective, what that is doing is it's solidifying that you view us as other. So I never get upset with a person when they do that, but I always say, like, you don't have to do that, because I know that you wouldn't do that to a cis person.
Interesting.
Because, for example, if I said, oh, I was having a lunch with my sister the other day, and she ordered a pizza or something like that. I don't even think about it. I just like, oh, it's a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes you just sincerely forget and you keep doing it, but when you realize it or when you're corrected, just if you want to say like a quick sorry, that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to do that.
When you think of chosen family, how do you define it, and who do you hold close in that circle?
My wife. My wife! Kayla is a wonderful human being. She has always seen me for just me.
My friends, I mean, I feel a lot more able to be myself. I feel a lot more empowered in that sense.
The friendships and community, I never knew another trans person before I came out. And I went to the Sage group in Syracuse. They have a trans group that meets once a week. Instead of meeting once a week, that was the first time I had ever met anybody that I could sit down and talk to that was trans.
I've got some friends who, they're my siblings at this point, like as far as I'm concerned.
She's always been very supportive. She's always been very patient and willing to allow me space to grow and explore and be open and honest and raw about my emotions and about what I'm experiencing and the way that I think and the way that I feel. Because there's been a lot of things about myself, not just being transgender, that I've had to grapple with. She didn't even know what she was getting into initially, because I wasn't on testosterone, but I was introduced as a man to her, and she just thought I was having a hard time growing facial hair. I was a little, not prepubescent, but I was a little baby face. Mm-hmm. So it was, because I wore a binder and stuff, and it was just winning personality.
That's what did it.
Yeah, no, I'm totally not my mouth at all, my sailor mouth.
Oh my god.
I believe that everyone should have chosen family, and it doesn't stop at queer people.
You can't pick your biological relatives, you can pick your chosen. Absolutely. And I continue to do that, and it changes all the time.
I mean, obviously my boyfriend, because he has been there with me through all of the darkest moments in my life. Of course, he's also trans, so it's like we understand each other in that way. And I don't know, he was the first person in my life to show me what it means to be loved unconditionally. Because I had grown up like feeling like everybody wants me to be something that I'm not, wants me to be someone who I'm not, wants me to act a certain way and be a certain way that I don't intrinsically feel like I am. And so meeting him and falling in love with him and spending the last 8 years with him, it's like there's more of, it's like the closer I get to, let's see, I'm trying to do math. This is a silly thing to try to do right now, but I spent the first 21 years of my life in that environment of like not being accepted and not knowing what unconditional love was. And now I've spent like almost 10 years with him and like experiencing what unconditional love is. And it's like there's going to be a time in my life where the scales tip, where I will have been with him longer and have experienced unconditional love longer than I had it. And so like that's just beautiful to imagine getting to that point in my life where it's like, wow, what like.
I'm very fortunate because I know that not everybody has this, but I have very close friends who have like the biggest hearts and are always present whenever I meet them. And this is all back to the community being the most important thing, always and forever. But I don't know, like having a good sense of belonging and making sure that you have people who really do support you endlessly. And I am very fortunate to say that I believe I do.
What milestones or achievements in your journey are you most proud of?
My top surgery was, by all means, like the moment that I could see my chest for what it is and how good they did, like, thank you, doctor. I felt like me for the first time because for how many years, and not just like the physical part of like feeling the constant pressure on your shoulders because of how breast tissue holds. It was the mental and the emotional release of it all, like literally like a huge weight off my chest was gone, and I was able to see myself for the first time and love me. Like,
I'm proud of realizing that hating myself into a better place wasn't going to happen. I didn't need to absolve who I was just to exist. And that asking for help didn't make you a bad person, that you can be anyone, anywhere, and need help. And that accepting that help might help you help yourself.
Yeah. And so, like, help is not a bad word. It's not. And you need to be an advocate for yourself if you want to heal also.
I was not looking at myself in a mirror very often.
Does that change?
Yeah, no, it's changed a lot. I mean, I do my makeup pretty much every day that I go out, so surprised that involves looking in a mirror. So
Surprise!
Looking in the mirror and thinking of myself by my chosen name rather than by my birth name or dead name, as people call me.
Yeah, I'm learning to like how I look. I'm remembering that I like the part of me that writes poetry and stuff, you know, after a kind of long writer's block. A lot of it I wrote when I was in the closet, and a lot of it is kind of about that experience of finding myself.
But, you know, as my hair grew out, and I was thinking myself as Brandon 24 hours a day, not just as having to go into the bathroom and say, you know, you're Brandon, you're not this other person anymore. Although the other person is still part of me, but it's not, you know, it's still me, but it's all integrated. That's good. Yeah, it is something to think about.
Handing my job my name change papers and knowing that I could never be called legally my old name again. The person who I'm with right now met me in the beginning of my transition, so she knew my dead name and used it. And the moment that I was like, yeah, no, this is really who I am, this is what I'm feeling, like, she switched it. And I think just recently, 1 minute, she was like, I don't remember.
That's wow.
At one point, and it made me feel good.
That's wonderful.
Now, to me, I don't hate I didn't like my name, but like, I don't hate my dead name because, again, it's a part of me.
Yeah.
Like, for me, this is an experience, and that is part of my history. You can't erase history. You either got to learn to live with it and accept it.
That was the biggest thing for me, is getting top surgery and being able to. First thing that I remember waking up, because I don't regret anything about my transition at all. The only regrets that I have are the way that other people reacted to me coming out, and I don't even regret that because it's not my place to regret their actions. It's their place to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel shitty about the way that it played out for other people, and that they didn't give me the time of day to understand and care necessarily about how I feel. But at the end of the day, like, and so like when I finally got top surgery, I was at that point where like I not that I hated my body, but I just was so uncomfortable that I expected to wake up and feel that regret that everybody else was telling me that I was going to end up feeling. Aside from being uncomfortable about the drains, I was so fucking happy. Like, I was so ecstatic that I was going to be able to swim with a shirt off.
For the most part, I've never presented in a way that was for the benefit of other people. Right. It's just like this sense of freedom, because you don't when you start transitioning, whether it's socially or medically or whatever, you don't even realize how many blockages there are in your mind that you were taught and that aren't real. That was the best part, was realizing, oh, I don't have to adhere to like this box. And that I've always been allowed to be myself. I just have to decide to do it.
I mean, I haven't really accomplished a lot in my life, to be honest with you. I mean, it sounds the most bare bones, but I'm just proud of myself for being able to do this with you today, because it's hard to talk about yourself, and it's hard to be open and honest and vulnerable, and it's hard to be authentic. And it's like, so much of my life I spent just being ashamed and just wanting to like close myself off to the world and put myself like in isolation so nobody had to look at me like I'm Frankenstein's monster or something. Being able to face the world as I am and not be completely terrified to do that. And maybe that seems like a really small thing. Like maybe for other people it's something like, oh, I got this reward, or I have this job that's great, or I live in this big house, or blah, blah, blah. I'm just happy to be alive. I'm happy that all the times that I felt like it was too hard for me to go on, that I chose to go on.
Yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive. This past year has been probably the best year of my life, and it's been stressful at times. I mean, moving and everything, sort of getting my life back together has been, it's had its rough patches, but it's still been better than what I had before. Absolutely. But, I'm definitely proud of myself for coming out of my shell this past year or so.
Can you share a time when you not only felt accepted, but celebrated for who you are?
I actually celebrate what I consider two birthdays. There's the day I came out, which was May 4, 2018. And my birthday, which is on the 27th of May.
Actually, that was a question that stumped me because I don't think I've ever celebrated myself. I don't remember ever being like, oh my God, I did it, except maybe for my surgery. Because it was, I couldn't really celebrate because I was a freaking mess.
Right.
Aftercare.
Right.
That's something I'm working on where I've actually never learned how to celebrate myself. So even like minor things, like where normal people go out for drinks with their friends to be like, yeah, I got the job promotion. I've never been one to do that. And I don't actually, it was funny you brought that up because I've never thought about it. So now you've brought another thought into my process.
We should definitely celebrate. Absolutely. There's a lot to celebrate. It's like, yeah, you're victorious. You survived yourself.
I will put one thing for a future thing that like I have discussed with my partner. It's also a comfort factor for like loving myself in my own skin. Like what I would love to do at one point, or a future goal for me to celebrate myself, is I would love to find a photographer and take pictures. And I'm not saying like risque pictures, but pictures that definitely show that I'm trans or like who I am, whether they're shirtless, because you have scars. Mine are very decent, but like I want those photos to show the process of like, or to get somebody to be able to capture that in a photo of me being happy.
What are you currently learning to love about yourself right now?
All of it.
All of it.
No, it's your timing, Jacob, impeccable. Because this past year, specifically this past summer, I don't know what I did or if anything happened at all, but I felt like I've had a quantum leap in self-acceptance and just mental health improvement. Like I can't put into words how far I've gotten this past year. My whole life, not to get dark, but my whole life I've had a very deep-seated, very profound self-loathing. And like from the time of being a child, and I remember being a kid and telling my mom I'm not happy. And she said, what's wrong? I said, nothing's wrong. I'm not sad. I'm not happy. And now I am happy.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. And again, I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed, if anything changed, but it feels very sudden and it feels very permanent.
I'm so happy. I really connect with that. There's a lot to love about yourself. You're a very kind person. You're a very talented person, very welcoming, warm person. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation.
It means a lot coming from you.
What do you mean from me?
Yeah.
I'm just Jacob.
You exemplify all of those qualities. So
I
try. It means so much to hear that from someone who you find all those things in.
Oh, well, like I said on over here, it's nice to know. Because I'm so oblivious. I'm like, everyone hates me. I guess that's not true.
It's not true.
Oh, that's nice. Keep going. Just kidding. But what you said, especially the last year, it's really resonated with me.
The accomplishments and milestones of being able to have our wedding, and now looking into doing our fertility treatments and stuff and starting a family, that's a big milestone. And I think gaining the awareness to be introspective was the biggest one of all.
You know, you are creating a life that is showcasing that it's possible for trans people to be happy. Like, I didn't ever think
I'd have this much stuff.
I know, but like, it's that kind of statement that is making the episode feel complete. So thank you for being part of this, genuinely, because it means a lot. I'm thinking about all the people I've met in my life who are trans, who said it's not going to ever be possible for me, and who are suicidal. It's just like, it is, and it might take a while, and
hard.
It's hard.
It is work. It's real. It's possible. It's possible to settle down with somebody and find somebody that you can feel safe and comfortable and loved with. And I didn't think that it was initially either, so I can understand why people would be hesitant to even believe in something like that.
Yeah, it's the groundwork. What do you hope the world looks like for trans people 50 years from now?
I hope people just stop talking about it. I know that sounds crazy, but like,
whoops.
I just wish that... No, not you. The people who...
I hope we can reach some sort of acceptance. If maybe not acceptance, learning how to be civil with each other. I want this hate and violence and this trash talk and this horror that's going on right now to stop.
Yeah, I just want to be around the people I love. I want to be part of people's lives in a way I didn't really feel as open to be before. I want a world where it's pretty easy to get your name and gender changed and all that. I want a world where trans kids don't have to worry about what their parents will do if they find out that they're trans, and where they can get the support they need without having to wait until they've already gone through puberty of the gender they would not like to go through the puberty of. I think all that is reasonably achievable in 25 years. So, get on it.
Get on it. Yeah. People just need to be educated more.
I am hoping they will notice us. It will be treated as part of the general populace. Just a general acceptance that we're just people.
Sometimes it feels like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It really does feel like a push and pull.
Well, it always has been. Just when after marriage equality was accomplished, I got that the battle's done.
Yeah.
And it's never done.
It's never done.
Well, then it's like, just let us be a part of the world. Like, give us a space to exist. And don't make us feel unwelcome just for being as who we are. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to change people. You're not going to make people not be trans. Because it's just like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you are, you are. If you're not, you're not. And I don't think it should be anything other than that. You know, does that make sense? Am I making sense?
It's making plenty of sense. You've made a lot of sense.
Okay.
I want us to be seen as people, not numbers. I want us to be seen as a culture, not a threat. I don't want it to be not a discussion, because I feel like being queer and being transgender is its own culture, and we have like this very unique perspective on life, just as people of different countries and religions do. So I don't think that it should be not talked about, but I don't want it to be like a shock value thing. I don't want us to, it should not be a taboo subject. It should just be like a casual, like, oh, like, Ronnie's Jewish, or like, oh, Sarah's from Ethiopia, Connor's trans. Like, I want it to be as natural as it really is to be trans.
I hope that we get to be young and we get to be old. I hope that kids who are trans are able to explore who they are in ways that are safe and healthy for them. I hope that we are all able to love and tend to our inner children, who I think would be so proud of us. And I hope that trans people get to get old. I hope that I get to see trans people with wrinkles and trans people in nursing homes. I hope that I get to see trans people in retirement and with long gray hair and bald and liver spots. I hope that trans people get to live and be.
That's fucking beautiful.
I can learn from it or not accept it, but like I'm not going to regret what I've gone through because that's made me who I am. And I'm proud of that. And I hope that, you know, if someone does look at this, that I hope I bring you some comfort or even knowledge of like asking a question you never think of asking because you thought it was stupid, or just if you're questioning about yourself, I hope something that I say might help you go, whether it was through the start your transition or not. Like, I just want everybody to be okay. Because there's too much negative in this world right now. Like, we need more positives. Like, it's too hard. I just want people to be happy.
I appreciate you, like, bringing me on here and talking to me about this stuff. Because it is important for people to understand or to know. Like, maybe not understand, but to just have an anecdote, a reference point. Something that they can fucking, like, bounce off of. I'm just one person out of...
It's a rough time out there, and we all need to support each other. So, get on it.
Get on it. Again, be kind to one another.
Just to anybody watching, you know a trans person. You don't realize it, but you know or have known a trans person. We've always existed throughout history, in every culture, on every continent, every time period. It's not a fad. It's not new. We have new words for it. But we've always been here, and we're not going to go anywhere.
I'm very moved.
You like, at just like those questions. Some of those questions I've never like been asked before.
That's
Never
the best
really,
thing you can
I never
say.
really stopped and thought about it. So like you bringing any of that to my attention too. Like I'm really grateful for that.
Of course.
Me.
Yeah. Oh, no, because that's like the best thing people can tell me is like I haven't been asked that before. No one's asked me that, and you know, maybe they should have. I'm not doing this for clicks or this or to exploit people. I'm doing this to connect people and bring an awareness, gang. This is just the beginning of a much larger conversation. We'll continue listening, learning, and growing together one story at a time. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. These are stories told with care. Until next time, thank you for listening. Gang!
Thanks!
Yeah!